Building habits that change your life. Success is a product of routine, not luck. I need you to hear me on this. Success ain't a lottery. It ain't a stroke of luck. It ain't some magic moment that just falls into your lap. Real success, it's built brick by brick, habit by habit, day by day. The routines you commit to, the actions you repeat when nobody's watching. That's what creates results that last. Most people are looking for shortcuts, quick wins, and viral moments. But the truth is, habits are the quiet power behind every empire, every breakthrough, every life transformed. If you want to change your life, you got to change your habits first. Because what you do consistently defines who you are, what you accomplish, and the legacy you leave behind. See, habits are the compound interest of life. You might not notice the effect today, tomorrow, or even next month, but every small decision, every repeated action accumulates. Reading 15 minutes a day, showing up on time, treating people with respect, grinding when you don't feel like it. It all adds up. You plant seeds in silence, and one day they grow into forests. The problem is most people expect instant results, so they quit before the compound effect can work. But the people who stick, who trust the process, who honor the little actions, they're the ones who create something extraordinary over time. They understand that success isn't flashy, it's faithful. It's doing the right thing, the hard thing, the disciplined thing, consistently. Discipline is at the heart of habit building. It's easy to feel motivated when everything's going your way, when inspiration hits, when others are watching. But real character, real results, show up when you do the work without applause, when you push through resistance, when your body says stop but your mind says keep moving. That's how habits become powerful. They don't rely on feelings, they rely on commitment. You get up every day, you do the work, you repeat. That repetition rewires your brain. It makes excellence automatic. And once excellence becomes automatic, the results follow. Not because of luck, not because of chance, but because you created the system that produces success every single day. Consistency matters more than talent, more than strategy, more than luck. You can have the best plan, the most brilliant idea, and the strongest network. But if your daily habits don't align with your goals, it won't matter. Habits are the engine. Everything else is fuel. When you commit to routines that build skill, focus, and discipline, you're essentially training yourself to win. You're setting a foundation that no obstacle, no setback, no criticism can shake. Every day you show up, every action you repeat, you're fortifying your future. Habits turn potential into reality. They turn intention into accomplishment. They turn dreams into legacies. And let me tell you something else. Habits shape your identity. The actions you take repeatedly aren't just shaping results, they're shaping who you are. If you eat, think, work, and move in ways that are aligned with excellence, excellence becomes part of your identity. It's no longer something you chase, it's who you are. And once you identify with excellence, the world has no choice but to respond. The mindset, discipline, and routines you build become your unshakable foundation. That's why successful people look effortless, because they're not reacting, they're living in alignment with the habits they've established over years of faithful practice. Building habits isn't easy, and that's why most people fail. Change requires discomfort. Change requires repetition. Change requires resisting the urge for instant gratification. Your body, your mind, even your environment will try to keep you in the old patterns, in the comfort zone. That's natural. But every time you choose the disciplined path over comfort, every time you honor your commitments when it's inconvenient, every time you push through resistance, you're strengthening the habit and weakening the grip of the old version of yourself. The small, consistent wins compound into momentum that becomes unstoppable. And momentum is what transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary results. Remember, habits aren't just about doing the right things once. They're about committing to the process over time. They're about creating systems, not relying on inspiration. They're about building a lifestyle that naturally produces the outcomes you want. You can't just read a book, go to the gym for a week, or start a new routine and expect miracles. Real transformation comes when actions are repeated day in and day out, until they become automatic, until they become a part of who you are. That's how ordinary people become extraordinary, how small decisions compound into massive success, and how lives are changed quietly, consistently, and permanently. So start where you are with what you can control. Focus on the routines, the habits, the disciplines that align with the life you want. Protect your process, honor your commitments, and trust that the compound effect is working in the background. Over time, those habits will pay off in ways that luck could never replicate. Results will become undeniable, and your life will transform because you understood that success is never accidental. It's deliberate, it's consistent, and it's built habit by habit. Success is built through consistent, disciplined habits, not luck or inspiration. And the people who understand this know that real transformation doesn't come from one big breakthrough or a sudden moment of motivation. Most of the world looks at success and assumes it's a result of chance, talent, or being in the right place at the right time. But the truth is far deeper. Success is the product of repeated actions, done over and over, long before anyone sees the results. It's waking up when your body wants to sleep, doing the work when no one is watching, and staying committed to the process even when immediate outcomes aren't visible. Habits are the backbone of achievement because they create structure, discipline, and momentum that no luck alone can produce. Discipline is at the core of habit building. It's what separates those who dream from those who accomplish. Talent can give someone a head start, and opportunities can present themselves, but without the daily practice of discipline, talent fades and opportunities are wasted. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, even when motivation is low, even when life is inconvenient, even when it feels like progress is slow. It's showing up consistently and honoring the small actions that compound over time. The repetition of disciplined behavior rewires the brain, making focus and effort automatic. Over months and years, those small disciplined actions create habits that drive success without requiring constant willpower or external validation. Consistency works hand in hand with discipline. Habits are not about occasional bursts of effort. They're about doing the work day after day, whether or not you feel like it. You don't need to be perfect, but you do need to be steady. The compound effect of consistent action is what separates extraordinary lives from ordinary ones. Reading, writing, exercising, planning, and executing consistently, even in small increments, produces results that snowball. People often underestimate the power of small actions repeated over time. They look for shortcuts or expect instant gratification. But the reality is that consistent effort, quietly maintained, is the engine behind every success story. Momentum is built in silence through repetition, and it carries you farther than luck ever could. Habits also shape identity. What you do repeatedly informs how you see yourself. If you cultivate habits of focus, discipline, and perseverance, you start to see yourself as a person capable of achieving big goals. If you adopt routines that are lazy, distracted, or undisciplined, your self-perception follows. The mind associates identity with repeated behavior, so your habits literally define who you are. That's why changing habits is more powerful than setting goals alone. Goals can inspire you, but without the habits to support them, they remain dreams. Habits translate intentions into reality and make success inevitable because they shape both your actions and your self-image simultaneously. Patience is essential in building habits that change your life. Transformation doesn't happen overnight. The process requires enduring discomfort, resisting immediate gratification, and trusting that small, consistent actions will yield massive results over time. The person who understands this is willing to invest years in practices that may not show immediate payoff, but will produce exponential results later. Patience allows you to stay focused, maintain your routines, and continue the disciplined work even when progress is invisible. Without patience, it's easy to become discouraged, quit, or fall back into old patterns that undermine growth. The true value of habits emerges gradually, but once they take hold, they create lasting impact that luck alone could never provide. Environment and accountability also play a role in sustaining disciplined habits. Surrounding yourself with people who support your routines, who model the behavior you want to emulate, and who hold you accountable can accelerate habit formation. Conversely, a chaotic environment or negative influences can erode even the strongest intentions. Discipline requires not just internal commitment, but external support. Habits flourish in systems and environments designed to reinforce them. Small changes in your daily schedule, the removal of distractions, and intentional alignment of your surroundings with your goals can dramatically increase the likelihood of sustaining the actions that lead to success. Reflection and adjustment are part of the habit-building process as well. Habits are not static, they require evaluation, fine-tuning, and adaptation. What works for one stage of life may not work for another. You need to assess whether your routines are producing the desired outcomes and adjust accordingly. This requires honesty, self-awareness, and the willingness to change. Discipline without reflection can become rigid or misdirected, but disciplined action paired with thoughtful evaluation ensures that habits remain aligned with long-term goals. The combination of consistency, reflection, and adjustment maximizes the power of habits and prevents wasted effort. Ultimately, habits are the framework for a life of intentional achievement. Success is not a product of chance. It's a product of deliberate action, repeated over time and maintained with patience, discipline, and consistency. Every great accomplishment, every empire built, every personal transformation achieved is rooted in the habits that precede visible results. The routines you create today set the trajectory for tomorrow. By focusing on small, consistent actions that reinforce discipline, by cultivating behaviors that shape your identity, and by trusting the compound effect of repeated effort, you construct a foundation that turns aspirations into reality, potential into performance, and vision into lasting success. Daily routines shape results and identity, and the compound effect of small actions over time transforms lives. Because what you repeatedly do defines not just what you achieve, but who you become. Most people underestimate the power of repetition and overestimate the impact of grand gestures. They believe that success comes from big moments, lucky breaks, or sudden inspiration, but the reality is that habits are the invisible engine behind every achievement. The simple, consistent choices you make every day, how you manage your time, the work you commit to, the skills you practice, the thoughts you reinforce, quietly shape your future. Over months and years, those small, repeated actions compound, producing outcomes that appear extraordinary, but are really the result of disciplined accumulation. Identity is molded by behavior. When you perform certain actions consistently, your mind begins to accept them as truth about who you are. If you wake up early, work diligently, and invest in your growth daily, you begin to see yourself as a disciplined, capable, and productive person. On the other hand, if your routines are scattered, inconsistent, or distracted, your sense of self reflects that as well. The habits you adopt are essentially declarations of identity. You become the person who does the things you do repeatedly. That's why transforming your habits is so much more powerful than merely setting goals. Goals define a destination, but habits determine the trajectory that gets you there. By aligning daily routines with your desired identity, you create an automatic system that propels you towards success without relying on willpower alone. Consistency in daily routines is the engine that powers the compound effect. Each day you take a small positive action, reading for 30 minutes, exercising, planning your day, refining a skill, you are stacking momentum. The results may not be immediately visible, but like deposits into a savings account, they accumulate interest over time. Eventually, the impact becomes undeniable, and what once seemed minor now represents a significant advantage over those who neglect the power of consistent practice. The difference between extraordinary achievement and mediocrity is rarely a matter of talent. It is almost always the result of consistent, disciplined action repeated over months and years. Discipline is critical in sustaining daily routines. Habits require action even when motivation is low, when obstacles arise, or when distractions tempt you to quit. Discipline is the choice to honor the routine even when you don't feel like it, to respect the process over immediate pleasure or comfort. It is the quiet force that turns repetition into mastery and small efforts into life-changing outcomes. By practicing discipline consistently, you reinforce not only the habit itself, but also the mindset necessary to overcome resistance, setbacks, and fatigue. Discipline turns daily routines from optional actions into automatic behaviors that shape your life without constant mental effort. The compound effect of small actions extends beyond tangible results. It also shapes character and mindset. Daily routines teach patience, focus, and resilience. When you commit to consistent practices, you learn to endure discomfort, resist impulsive decisions, and persist in the face of obstacles. Each repetition strengthens mental fortitude and reinforces the belief that long-term effort produces results. Over time, this mindset becomes ingrained, creating a self-reinforcing cycle. The more you act consistently, the stronger your discipline becomes, and the more natural it feels to maintain positive routines. The compound effect of habits doesn't just change outcomes, it transforms the way you think, respond, and approach challenges. Reflection and adjustment are also integral to leveraging daily routines effectively. Habits should not be rigid. They require evaluation to ensure they remain aligned with your goals. By regularly reviewing your routines, identifying what is effective, and adjusting what is not, you optimize the impact of your actions. This process ensures that your efforts are not wasted on unproductive behaviors and that your daily practices continue to compound toward meaningful results. Self-awareness and habit building amplifies the benefits of routine, making your actions both intentional and strategic rather than mechanical or unconscious. The environment you create further reinforces the power of routines, surrounding yourself with supportive people, removing distractions, and designing spaces that encourage productive behavior magnifies the impact of daily habits. Habits are easier to maintain when your surroundings align with your goals, and the consistency of routines becomes sustainable over the long term. Your environment, combined with disciplined action, consistency, and reflection, forms a system that maximizes the compounding effect and accelerates the transformation of your life. Ultimately, daily routines shape not just what you do, but who you are and who you become. The small, repeated actions you take create momentum, reinforce identity, build discipline, and cultivate the mindset necessary for sustained achievement. They compound silently, often unnoticed, until the results are undeniable. By focusing on positive routines, honoring discipline, embracing consistency, and reflecting on progress, you harness the most powerful force in personal growth, the cumulative effect of small intentional actions. Over time, these routines transform ordinary effort into extraordinary results, potential into performance, and intention into reality, proving that the life you want is constructed, habit by habit, day by day.